My definition of absolute hell.
Robyn Brown isn't misunderstood. She's just white trash with a bigger budget. If Christine was considered polygamist royalty, then Robyn might be seen as the opposite end of the spectrum. Polygamous white trash, or at least distinctly common by comparison. Her background appears to reflect fewer financial resources, less education, and a limited understanding of how polygamy traditionally functions.
This dollhouse has been...
Her spending habits lean toward the frivolous, lavish amounts on dolls and fantasy-themed journals that evoke a kitschy trailer park aesthetic. Her vocabulary often feels stunted, with repetitive phrases like really, really stupid that echo a lack of refinement. There's also the social contrast.
Funny. It's funny. She's just not afraid to let her opinions be known.
Robyn seemed eager to assert herself, often jumping in to answer questions, possibly to gain status or credibility in a community where Christine already held respect. It's been noted that Robyn may have grown up on a compound in places like Wyoming or Pinesdale, Montana, areas known for poverty and disrepair, with households surviving on government assistance. Some of the homes reportedly bordered on uninhabitable conditions, suggesting a rougher upbringing than she publicly acknowledges.
We should all get trailer homes and just park out here. I would never, but I think it's awesome.
Interestingly, there's been a moment where her daughters criticized Janelle's RV as something undesirable, despite their own upbringing including modest rural living situations.
I would never. That sounds like my definition of absolute hell.
The contrast between their disdain and their past highlights a possible insecurity, the urge to project wealth to distance themselves from poverty. This could explain the excessive purchases of art, jewelry, and other symbols of affluence, less about taste and more about image. It's been claimed that such items are even viewed as investments, though the choices reflect more aspiration than value. As for Robyn's personal history, her mother was reportedly a plural wife living in a different state, and her first marriage came after a relationship entanglement involving her sister. While not rooted in formal polygamy, the dynamics resemble instability more than tradition. They said it was about faith and love. What it really was is a hostile takeover.
When I came into this family, I knew and I saw that when there's stretch marks and there's weight gain and there's like stagnant, you're being stagnant in the marriage, or there's fights or there's money problems or whatever it is.
When I joined this family, Robyn said, I saw that even with stretch marks, weight gain, stagnation in the marriage, fights, money issues, whatever it was, he still kept romance alive with each of them. I saw it. He had sweet moments with each one, and I thought, you have this opportunity, so why are you looking at my orange? You have an apple. It's not better, just different. The implication was clear. Cody was some kind of hero for staying loyal to women who had the audacity to age and endure hardship, as if basic commitment, through thick and thin, deserved a standing ovation. At the same time, it was a subtle accusation. The other wives had stopped trying, stopped caring for themselves, for the marriage, for him, physically, emotionally, romantically. But it wasn't just about love or commitment. Robyn saw something else. A family teetering on the edge of television fame and financial security. Aligning herself with Cody and letting others handle the practical burdens was a far more comfortable path than struggling to make ends meet. She was younger, more conventionally attractive, and carefully positioned herself as an upgrade. It was strategic, not spiritual. The speech came off less like a reflection on love and more like a carefully disguised critique. A backhanded compliment aimed at making others feel lesser. On the surface, it was about fairness and opportunity. Underneath, it was a claim to superiority.
Sorry.
It wasn't funny to me either. It was actually something that I had to ask him, not to share with anybody.
The contradictions didn't stop there. When questioned about excluding the others from wedding dress shopping, she justified it by saying, "I felt that you don't need to know," followed by, "I kind of wanted to protect both experiences." Protect? The act was exclusionary and deceptive, yet somehow framed as kindness. This behavior didn't come from naivety. Robyn was not a teenager. She was an adult fully aware of her actions. Whether learned or self-taught, these tactics were deliberate. From the beginning, she wasn't pursuing a calling or a community. She was securing a position. Her involvement in the family was never about shared values or mutual support. It was calculated.
Our children were growing up. We didn't need each other as much because when we had a lot of little children.
Meanwhile, others juggled children, household duties, and tight finances, often without help. Robyn, by contrast, had support. She was consistently well-groomed, polished, and prepared. Her lifestyle, even before the show's income, looked markedly different from the rest. In the end, what was presented as unity and faith was, for her, a carefully managed personal advancement. And the consequences, emotional, relational, and familial, were profound. This isn't just a personality change. It's a full-blown unraveling, and it's happening on camera.
I was so jacked up I was getting lightheaded. You know, you're out there, you're all harnessed up to jump off of a building.
Starting in season 13, there's a dramatic shift in Cody's entire demeanor. His mood swings, his attitude, his behavior. It's like watching someone who's completely cracked out. The energy is chaotic, erratic, and over the top.
You're either in complying with our standard or I'm not coming around.
His family is clearly struggling to justify the change, offering up excuses as his behavior spirals. But the signs are hard to miss. He seems manic, possibly even on something like steroids. The intensity, the aggression, the bizarre outbursts, it's not subtle. That poor realtor didn't stand a chance. Cody might as well have tried to assert dominance right then and there, in the most absurdly masculine way possible.
Polygamous extraordinaire! Yeah!
It feels like a mix of unchecked mania and performance-enhancing hormones, maybe testosterone or HGH, all compensating for the physical insecurities creeping in.
All of us were seeing fractures in the family culture.
Add in the isolation of the pandemic where he apparently immersed himself in a stew of toxic beliefs.
And what emerges is someone who sees himself as an all-powerful patriarch, ripped, righteous, and convinced of his own infallibility.
No, it doesn't seem like hard drugs. What's more likely is a self-prescribed chemical cocktail. High doses of testosterone, perhaps a few cycles of steroids, all wrapped in a desperate attempt to maintain control, especially over Robyn, who seems to be drifting. And with what's now known about the unsettling doll collection, the situation appears even more unhinged than previously imagined.
You know what? Goats can be beasts of labor. We can get a saddle.
There's a juvenile awkwardness to him, like someone with arrested development pretending to be a fully functioning adult. He doesn't appear to process emotions or ideas beyond his own ego. If he ever encountered real drugs, he'd likely melt down from the sheer emotional overload. From a psychological standpoint, the behavior lines up more with a cluster of personality traits, possibly cluster B, amplified by mania and an artificial boost from hormones. It's not a street drug high, but a volatile mental and emotional storm masquerading as confidence. And yes, stripping down to flex in that muddy, questionable pond, that visual is burned into memory for all the wrong reasons. They said it was about fresh air and new beginnings. But the truth behind the move? It had everything to do with one kid and one mom's control.
Dayton, you got something to say?
Will we be able to look at the campus while we're there?
In the scene where Cody announces the family's move to Flagstaff, something stands out. Dayton is unusually enthusiastic. Conveniently, he was already planning to attend college there. The timing is interesting. There's a strong implication that the relocation had less to do with Flagstaff's charm and more to do with Robyn's desire to remain close to Dayton.
It's a high-functioning form of autism. It actually explained a lot of why.
Whether it was a concern for his well-being due to his Asperger's or simply her need to stay tightly involved in his life, the decision clearly prioritized one child's needs over the others.
Because no one likes Vegas.
We were basically chased out of Utah.
The move upended the lives of all the other children, most notably Hunter, who was in the midst of his own path and plans. As Cody's biological son, one would expect his interests to be equally, if not more, considered. Yet they were not.
If proximity to Dayton was so essential, Robyn could have moved independently. The entire family didn't need to follow. The reasoning given was framed as coincidence. Cody happened to love Flagstaff, Dayton happened to be going to college there, and the family just happened to move before the school year began. Yet everything lined up a little too perfectly. Meanwhile, the rest of the children were asked to give up their homes, routines, and futures, all with minimal consideration.
I need to have him wherever we're at for college. And like, I'm sitting here like this and I'm going,
At the time, Robyn openly stated that due to Dayton's Asperger's, she felt it was important to be nearby during his transition to college life. Shortly afterward, Dayton announced his acceptance to NAU. The sequence of events leaves little room for misinterpretation.
None of this is Dayton's fault. He likely wanted the typical college experience, independence, space, a fresh start. What he received instead was the full weight of a family move, seemingly orchestrated around his choices.
of treatment with Dayton or Brandon. I've waited a year thinking it would change.
The consequences, however, were felt most heavily by the other children, whose lives were drastically rearranged to accommodate a plan they didn't choose. This is exactly what gaslighting looks like, and a therapist watched it happen in silence. This was one of the most unsettling scenes in the entire series.
I want to say that I understand I railroaded you, and I'm not sorry for that.
Cody looks directly at Christine and says, "I railroaded you, and I know I did, and I'm not sorry. Respect the whole family, and I will love you."
I just felt like it was a good rock metaphor, this solid family.
Instead of engaging with a simple, symbolic exercise, building a rock tower to represent his relationship with Christine, he turned the moment into a power play. What should have been a reflection on their connection became a display of exactly why Christine was so deeply frustrated.
Tower that represents your relationship, and I can see that Cody's going to build a tower that represents.
Rather than take responsibility or show empathy, Cody made it clear the only relationship that mattered was between Christine and the family, not between the two of them. His love, he claimed, was conditional on loyalty to the larger group, erasing any individual bond.
Did we work like a team, Nancy?
Meanwhile, the therapist, Nancy, stood by silently. Despite watching Cody derail the assignment, dominate the conversation, and emotionally manipulate Christine, she did nothing to intervene. The session, and likely the entire therapeutic process, was rendered useless. Whether or not the family could have been helped is debatable, but Nancy's passive approach did nothing to support progress. The phrase "honor the family" had become code for deferring to Robyn. Christine, who raised most of the children and held the household together for years, was being told her worth depended on serving a dynamic that clearly excluded her. That moment marked the true end of the marriage. Christine had stayed for years, for the children, for financial stability, for appearances. But once her older kids were grown, she quietly prepared to leave. Criticism that she moved on too quickly misses the point entirely. She had emotionally checked out long before she physically left. Ironically, Cody did complete the Rock Tower assignment, just not in the way intended. His tower showed the truth. His relationship with Christine was never about partnership. It was a calculated move to rebalance relationships with his first two wives. That scene was the clearest, most painful indication of who he really was, and why Christine was absolutely right to walk away.
The real reason they sold those Vegas homes, it had nothing to do with the market and everything to do with manipulation.
I don't even know why I asked, because I can't care at this point.
All the finger pointing's coming at me, but
In season 13, Cody insisted on selling the Las Vegas homes because he believed the housing market was at its peak. There was no evidence behind this claim.
Are we ever going to live in a place then where people are going to get us?
Just another one of his impulsive decisions, like the time he thought moving back to Utah and running for office was a solid plan. In reality, those homes have since doubled in value and are now worth over $1 million each. But the most costly mistake wasn't the timing of the sale, it was the motivation behind the entire move. The decision to relocate to Flagstaff stemmed from one wife's desire to be near her child.
and Cody needed to make it look like a unified family decision.
So the truth of the matter is, looking at Flagstaff is really about picking the most beautiful town.
So he crafted a haphazard justification, complete with a dramatic presentation and vague promises of a fresh start.
So the walls between each section will be block. The house will end up being...
The real goal was separation, control, and a reset of family dynamics. Financial consequences be damned. The family ended up losing money on the Vegas properties.
Those houses
Let's cut our losses? No, that was
for
supposed to
4
be-
months.
Despite having a real estate agent within the family, no one appeared to challenge the idea of putting 4 homes on the market simultaneously, something any competent realtor would advise against.
Trying to beat this market on the homes is like trying to,
Cody's justification about market timing seems less like a belief and more like a convenient excuse. The disruption wasn't just financial.
I'm exhausted and I'm emotional about leaving my beautiful home.
Uprooting the children, abandoning a stable setup, and dragging the entire family across state lines, all to support an agenda cloaked in half-truths, had lasting impacts. And through it all, the driving force appeared to be one person's need for attention and control, met with very little resistance. It's hard to believe such a significant upheaval was orchestrated with so little foresight.
Please, everybody just join me in my dream for a little bit longer.
But in the end, it reflects a pattern. Rash decisions dressed up as visionary leadership, with the rest of the family left to deal with the fallout. Nothing is more infuriating than watching a grown man throw a tantrum because his kids won't beg for his attention. In Season 18, Episode 3, there's a particularly frustrating scene where Cody sits down with Janelle and repeatedly declares, "I said we need to have a talk," as if simply announcing it absolves him of all responsibility.
There's a problem in the family, a problem that needs to be solved, and everything's too hot now, and everybody thinks that I'm the bad guy.
He then shifts blame entirely onto Janelle and their sons for the conversation never happening, claiming that this breakdown is what led to the separate holiday arrangements. But here's the glaring issue.
We've never had a discussion about the separate holiday. The last discussion we really had about it was on Robyn's porch.
Why didn't he initiate the conversation? If it was so important, why didn't he reach out to his sons himself? Why didn't the self-proclaimed patriarch take the lead and ask for a meeting before the holidays? Instead, he sat back and expected everyone else to do the emotional labor.
That's the pattern. Cody has long viewed himself as a central prize, someone the family must orbit around. Now that some members aren't fighting for his attention, he's confused and offended.
It's still them coming to him and basically clearing the air, saying they were sorry. So
he also tends to tie his relationships with the children directly to their mothers. If he's on good terms with a wife, he engages with her kids. If not, those children are sidelined. His anger at Janelle stems from this. She didn't pressure the boys to fall in line. She passed along his message, but left the decision up to them, and then stood by their choices. That neutrality made her a threat. In his eyes, a loyal spouse would have pushed his agenda, demanded obedience, or cut off the kids who didn't comply.
The boys can come and make peace, have a conversation.
Making matters worse, his closest ally reinforced the idea that it wasn't his job to reach out, that the boys needed to approach him. This ensured the family remained fractured and under control, with the narrative carefully managed. Cody's behavior mirrors that of a petulant child. His defensive outbursts, I did not, don't come across as mature or sincere. He cannot seem to understand why his adult children aren't eagerly seeking him out. He imagined building a compound where his children would naturally gravitate back to him, but instead, they're forging their own paths, thanks in large part to the independence instilled by their mothers. When he claims he dropped the requirement for them to talk to him before Christmas, it's hollow. His actions and tone show that he still expected them to come forward first. And as for his statement about not loving them, it's doubtful. The depth of his reaction when Christine left suggests otherwise. That departure cut deep, and when Janelle maintained a relationship with her afterward, it added another layer of betrayal in his mind.
Ultimately, this isn't about reconciliation. It's about control, ego, and the expectation that loyalty must come on his terms, no questions asked. That's all I've got for now. Thanks for being here, really. Reality Nexus X wouldn't be the same without you. I'm Elena. Take care, and we'll talk soon.